Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Careertainment, and my name is Vikram Limsay. Today I'm going to be talking about how to transition or transform from being a perfectionist to being excellent. And in fact, why should you transform from seeking perfectionism to being excellent in whatever you do? In fact, I like to call it transitioning from the tyranny of perfection to the sweetness of excellence. And in just a bit through the video, you'll understand not just how to transition and why should you transition, but also why am I using these kind of qualifiers, the tyranny of perfection and the sweetness of excellence. Now, all of us, when we sleep in the evening or in the night, are quite certain that there is going to be a next morning. We never doubt it, right? The sun is going to come out the next morning. We are absolutely certain, and in fact, the world moves like that. That is perfection, when you have absolute surety about a certain thing happening and nothing else. Or when you look at a flower, you're very certain that this flower is going to transition or transform into a fruit, and when you use or eat that fruit, it's going to transform into your blood and offer you nutrients. You're very certain and firm about it. You're sure about it. Now that is again perfection. Nature offers you fantastic examples of perfection. But outside of nature, can you find perfection? Because what is perfection after all? It's absolutely the end result. Finish, the end stage. There's no other way. There's no other way other than the perfect way. That's what nature tells you, right? There's no other way. But can it be in other fields of life? Because we use this word regularly, right? I'm perfect, I want to be perfect, I find this guy perfect, or this person perfect, or this situation perfect. Now, as long as we are using this just as a figure of speech, it's fine. But if you start believing about this perfectionism and start getting into that trap of perfectionism and getting into doing things in a perfect manner, then that could be a problem, and we'll see how that can be a problem and how to come out of that. But we use this word, right? Even in sports, in every field of life. Remember that word called the perfect mile in athletics. The first time somebody ran a mile under 4 minutes, it used to be called the perfect mile. I think Roger Bannister, I think he was the Australian athlete or somebody who did it for the first time, and they called it the perfect mile. But then after that, many people did a mile under 4 minutes, and then this first attempt never remained perfect. Or that famous example of that great Romanian gymnast, Nadia Comaneci, who got a perfect 10 for her floor routine or some routine. I think it was the Montreal Olympics or some Olympics, right? And it was a big thing that this is the perfect routine, and she got the perfect 10 as a score and all that. But then what happened after that? Many other gymnasts came up, and then they got fantastic routines and perfect 10s again. So then perfect 10 did not remain the perfect 10 at all. I mean, it was an excellent routine. So, very difficult to actually say everything in life is perfect. Even for those of you who are interested in crime thrillers or murder mystery, right? You must have heard of that word. No crime is a perfect crime. We know that, right? So, perfection outside of nature is very difficult. It's only a figure of speech. Actually, it doesn't happen. And so don't build it into your subliminal or mindset. What about business? Can there be perfectionism in business? In your entrepreneurship, in your professions, in your career, work life, in your workaday life, can there be perfectionism? We use it even in our workday, right? My boss is perfect, or my company expects perfectionism from me. They expect my job to be perfect, or they've told me to find a perfect fit for an assignment or for a role. Now, all this, in my view, is just figure of speech. Don't take it seriously, because if you really build perfectionism inside of you, then there's a problem. Because a guy or a person or a company who's expecting perfectionism out of you is basically coming out from a place of ego, where they want approvals to satisfy their own ego, because they can't be satisfied with anything, so they'll never be satisfied with you. Or they expect so much from themselves that they start expecting so much from you. Their expectations become unending. unfathomable. So that's something unreal. So it cannot happen. Perfectionism in business cannot happen. But if you are in that perfection trap, then you need to find out before you transition from being something else. And how does one find out whether you're in a perfection trap? Are you in a perfection trap? So there are certain signs, in my view, that you need to be very, very vigilant about. So if in a team or in an organizational setup, if you are one of those who are into this analysis paralysis mode, never in a do mode, you're planning, 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 meetings, 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 but doing nothing about it, then you are under the tyranny of perfectionism. You'll never do anything. You'll keep talking about it, trying to improve, but nothing will get done. One more small sign is about being a micromanager. You'll start micromanaging to such a great extent to the irritation of every member of your team. So micromanagers are, if you're a micromanager, then you are under the tyranny of perfection. That's a sure shot telltale sign. Get out of it. Because if you're a micromanager, not just will it irritate your team members, it also works against you. It puts pressure on you. Because finally the team is also going to say that, hey, this guy micromanages, so let him do everything. So you'll end up doing everything at the end of it. So this analysis paralysis, this lack of execution, too much planning, meetings, micromanagement, these are some telltale signs that you are under the tyranny of perfection. And not just these operating signs, there are also some psychological signs. You're always disappointed, dissatisfied, and demoralized. You could even go into depression. So all these 4Ds are your psychological signs that you are under the tyranny of perfection. So get out of it. Identify if you have these signs and try to get out of it. How does one get out of it? Here are some examples. First, move from the tyranny of perfection to the sweetness of excellence. What is excellence? Excellence is doing something to the best of your own ability. Right? Now it's all right to say that, okay, transition from being a perfectionist to search for excellence, but how does one do it? I think there are 4 or 5 steps that you could follow. Some easy steps. First is identify whether you are in the perfectionist tyranny of perfection trap, and then start doing these 4 or 5 things. First, understand the difference between perfection and excellence. And what are those differences? Perfection is always about an external benchmark. You're always comparing, competing, whereas excellence is about internal benchmarks. You're competing with yourselves in your own way. Perfection is also about the end result. It is the final result. Whereas excellence is all about the path, about the journey. So you have to enjoy the journey, not worry about the end result. So focus only on what you're doing, not on the result, on the effort. That is a major difference. The first thing is understand the difference between perfection and excellence. In fact, the Latin root of the word perfection also is some persifidi or something like that, which means finish, end. So understand the difference. Point number 1. If you want to transition from the tyranny of perfection to the sweetness of excellence, 1, understand the difference between perfection and excellence. Second, put the dimension of time in everything that you do. Now this is important because one of the telltale signs that you are under the tyranny of perfection is that nothing gets done. You're far away from execution always. You're always planning to do something but never do anything. So come what may, put the dimension of time in what you do. That is the second thing. So understand, put the second thing, which is the dimension of time. The third thing what you should do is to transform from perfection to excellence is to set internal benchmarks. Don't worry about external benchmark, work about internal benchmarks. And what are the internal benchmarks? They're about your own benchmarks from the last time. How did I play the game last time? And this is what is it that I need to improve this time. It's not about something outside. So maintain your internal benchmarks. Don't worry about competition outside. That's the third thing to transform from perfection to excellence. What about the fourth? Fourth is compete with your own dignity. Now, this is important. Competing with your own dignity means emotionally do the job in such a manner that you find that's the best that you can do. And you come out of the job saying that, okay, I am feeling the best now after doing this job. Yeah, that's the fourth thing. Compete with your own dignity. And fifth and final and most important, try to identify those moments of absolute joy in the job. Now that's easier said than done, but I'll give you some practical examples of how to identify. Because when you're doing an excellent job, nobody needs to tell you you're doing an excellent job. You feel it. There's an internal joy. So how do you identify those internal joys? I found three things. One is time flies very fast. So if time has flown very fast, when you're up to the stage of execution, then you know that you've done an excellent job. Secondly, there's no fatigue. You feel refreshed. Similar to like in the hot sun when you're walking to the market to get something that somebody has told you to do, but playing a game that you like in the hot sun, same thing. You feel fatigued in one, but you feel refreshed in the other. Right? Or when you're going to the park with your children, you feel refreshed, not tired. So that's the second one. First one is time flies. Second is you feel refreshed. And third is you look forward to the assignment again. When will I get a chance to do it again so that I can improve upon it? So these are the 5 ways how you can transform from the tyranny, being under the tyranny of perfection, to the sweetness of excellence. Let's go over them once again. First, understand the difference between perfection and excellence. I told you so. If you're not, you can roll back the video. The second one, put in a dimension of time. Force a dimension of time. Because when you do that, then you automatically get into the execution mode. Because the first telltale sign of the tyranny of perfection is that execution gets impacted. Third, after you put the dimension of time, set some internal benchmarks. Fourth, try to compete with your own dignity. And fifth, identify those small telltale signs of joy in whatever you're doing, and I told you what they were. This way, you'll be able to transform yourselves from being a perfectionist, which is near impossibility or which is an impossibility, to excellence, which will improve your productivity, make you more efficient, and also make you happier in whatever you do, and it will make you a much more happier person in whatever that you're doing. I hope you liked this video, and if you liked it, please comment, please share, subscribe to the channel, and till we meet again, bye for now. Take care.